You're listening to Soundside. I'm Libby Denkman. If there's a sci-fi movie or TV show you enjoy, there is a good chance it's based on a book. And there's an even better chance that book has won a Hugo Award. From Afrofuturist Octavia E Butler to sci-fi legends Frank Herbert and Ursula Le Guin, the Pacific Northwest has been home to several winners of one of the most prestigious honors in speculative fiction, fantasy, and sci-fi. What you may not realize is that the Hugo Award Ceremony happens every year at a gathering called Worldcon. And this year, the convention is being held right here at the Seattle Convention Center. Here to talk to us about Worldcon Seattle, how the ceremony came back to town, and the Hugo Awards, and what to expect this weekend is the chair of Worldcon Seattle, Kathy Bond. Kathy, thank you so much for being here, and congratulations on the con starting.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me here and having this focus on Seattle Worldcon. We are very excited to be featured on KUOW.
So if you had to sum up for somebody what Worldcon is in just a few sentences, what would you tell them?
So I would tell them that Worldcon, which is part of the World Science Fiction Society, is like Comic-Con, but for books. And instead of having Comic-Cons tend to be a lot of things to see and things to buy, Worldcon instead flips that a little bit, and it's a lot of things to do. So there are a lot of panels and programming items. Our particular Worldcon has a very maker focus to it, so we have a lot of hands-on workshops. See a thing, make a thing. Quality not guaranteed, but fun is. So you can take it home. And then a lot of opportunity to interact with one another and talk about all of the things in genre fiction and speculative fiction that we all love.
So what are you most excited for the convention being back in Seattle?
Well, I am really excited, and I will put this. People who are at the convention will hear this in my opening ceremony remarks, and it's I wrote it in our souvenir book. But I'm really excited about bringing our Pacific Northwest community of makers and doers and learners and community members together with the Worldcon community, and just seeing all of the different energy that comes from that, and new projects, because that happens after every Worldcon. People meet each other in the hallway, and the next thing you know, there's a new podcast, or there's a new book series, or there's an artist who's like, I'm going to draw that for you. So I'm really excited about that. I'm also excited about the Hugo Awards. That is one of my favorite parts about Worldcon, and being able to honor all of this amazing work each year and give people a chance to dress up or not if they don't want to, and just have a spotlight shined on them.
I mean, this is the biggest thing in science fiction and fantasy. Like, the Hugo Awards is huge. Mm-hmm. For anybody who's not as big of a science fiction fantasy reader community like we are at Soundside. Just talk to me about the importance of this award and why it's such a big deal.
So I think what is so important about the Hugo Awards and what makes it a unique award is that in addition to honoring professionals in the speculative fiction community, it also honors fans and lets us come together as a community to really celebrate all of the different facets of our community. So in addition to an award for Best Novel, we also have an award for Best Fan Cast. So for people who are putting together really interesting, very niche sometimes, podcasts. Or in addition to Best Short Story, we also have Best Fanzine. So the people who are putting together sort of that dying art of fanzines still, and having a lot of love and fun for that. So I feel like in both sides of it, the professional and the fan categories, we're celebrating people's love for speculative fiction. And I think that is what makes the Hugo Awards unique compared to all the other industry awards, and what makes it really fun because you can be a finalist in one of the fan categories. You also you have a lot of access and ability to meet the writers and authors who are in the more professional categories, and the artists as well. And it's an interesting mix of people that brings everybody together.
How does somebody become a Hugo finalist? Is there like a nominating convention or nominating committee?
So people are nominated for a Hugo by members of Worldcon. So each year, the members who have bought a World Science Fiction Society membership nominate to see who they want on the ballot. That nomination period typically takes place usually like January to Marchish or January to Aprilish, depending on how dates come out. And then after we do all of the tabulation, that's how you get the short list of the six works in each category. And then everybody has from that, kind of rough March, Aprilish time frame to usually about the end of July to vote. And that's how we determine who wins. So it's not a juried award. It's really an award that reflects what the Worldcon community decides is like, that was really good.
It's kind of like the Oscars, I guess, if you're like in the Academy.
A little bit, except you really there are no qualifications to be in the Academy.
Yeah, it's like self-selecting, basically, if you're participating. So many Hugo winners are going to be household names once they win the award. It's on the professional side, especially. Murderbot Diaries was a recent winner, and that's now a series on Apple TV. The author of the book series, Martha Wells, will be here for Worldcon. How much attention does the industry, like entertainment industry, et cetera, pay to the Hugo Awards, do you think?
I think that's kind of hard to judge. I mean, I definitely think they do pay some attention. Obviously, there are many things, many novels or series that have been honored by the Hugo Awards that then get picked up for book options and things like that, like Martha's Murderbot series. Sometimes it feels like, particularly I've worked on the award side of this before for other Worldcons. Sometimes it feels like they don't pay that much attention because when you're trying to reach out to tell them, hey, this Star Trek episode got on or this Doctor Who episode made the ballot and crickets. But that being said, even in those years, eventually it can take some more time. There's some sort of acknowledgement and they send us something to read out. So I think they pay some attention.
Yeah. But sometimes it feels like they're at a different table at lunch or something.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. We're all in the same lunchroom. Some of us are at the cool kids table.
Yeah, sure. I was always at the table where we had more interesting things to talk about. You got some blowback earlier this year when it came to the ways that you and the Worldcon organizers were using a large language model, AI, to sort through some possible panel speakers. And I know this was kind of a learning experience. You had an apology that you issued over this. Can you just talk to me about the lessons that you gained from this big pushback from some, especially the creators in the community, at the idea of even using AI at such a kind of initial stage of setting up the event, at organizing, basically going through potential speakers? What kind of lessons did you take from that pushback?
I think for me personally, what that whole situation in May really highlighted for me was two things. One, Worldcon is an all-volunteer organization, and sometimes it is very difficult to find enough people to do all of the work. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you can take shortcuts or that you still have to do things to a certain standard. But it does mean that sometimes you get really crunched for time and you're trying to figure out how you can possibly do this 40-hour task in the 15 hours you have in your life to be able to give to it. And to me, the idea that our volunteers had when they implemented that to try to speed things up, I think it all came from a really good place. And so the lesson I think that future Worldcons are going to take from this, and what we'll take from it personally moving forward, is just that sometimes you can't make things go faster, even though you really, really want to. And then the second thing that I think it really highlights for me is just that how vast our speculative fiction community is. I mean, we very clearly hurt creators, our artists and writers who are part of our community. But even within that part, we had pockets of people who didn't think it was a big deal. We had pockets of people who thought it was a really big deal.
Yeah, there was a lot of debate back and forth. And just to summarize it for folks, from my reading, it seemed to be a lot of creators saying basically large language models are trained on artists, creators, writers, they're stolen material, basically, that there's no ethical use of AI. Other people saying, listen, we're in the speculative fiction, future-looking field, and you're basically asking people to not use tools that are available to them to find efficiencies and do more with less. And this was a tough thing. I mean, you landed in the space of saying, okay, we hear the creators saying we don't want to use LLMs in the future. And that's the plan going forward.
And that is definitely the plan going forward. I think that the other part of it too, that it highlights, even within the creators of our community, there were the different opinions, but also that our community involves more than just creators, because the people who made the choice to use this tool or who thought it was a good idea, because they're in different parts of the world and community who are in their jobs and, using these tools on a regular basis. And so we also had a lot of people who didn't understand why it was such a big deal. So I think that's, the lessons from that whole experience were really just, to me, highlighting, the problems that volunteer organizations perennially have, which is time, money, and people. And then also that when your community is so vast, it is incredibly easy to make a misstep. And what we did, I think, is all we could have done is we heard people, we listened to people, we apologized, we made changes, and we moved forward.
I'm talking with Kathy Bond, who is the chair of Worldcon Seattle, which is, the preeminent convention for speculative fiction in that world, and also the place where the Hugo Awards are awarded, which is the prestigious award for science fiction and fantasy literature, also a number of other categories that Kathy's talked about here. Really quick before we go, the theme this year is Building Yesterday's Future for Everyone. So it sounds like we're talking like a retro future vibe. One more thought kind of before we go on the theme, on what people should be excited about for this weekend in Seattle.
Mm-hmm. So we really leaned into the mid-century aesthetic because the last time Worldcon was in Seattle was 1961. And as you said, before the Space Needle was even done. And we also leaned into that because we wanted to sort of return to that optimism that was really present during that period for the future and for what we're doing. But with a recognition that, the 60s was also a time of immense social change and upheaval, and it wasn't always a great time for a lot of different communities that are also part of speculative fiction. So that's part of we want to now take that optimism for the future and that resilience and hope and building and make it for everyone. So our theme was chosen also in a slightly less fraught time, but has, I think, grown in importance moving forward. And I hope that people come to Worldcon, have these times to meet each other and speak with each other and build community with each other, because art is incredibly important all the time, but I think especially in these times. And it is, for speculative fiction, I think it helps us aspire to better futures and show us what those can be. And that's what we're hoping to inspire everybody else who comes to Worldcon to think about, talk about, and go home and when they're done with Worldcon on the 17th and make change.
Kathy Bond with Worldcon Seattle. Thank you and good luck with the convention.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to Soundside. By the way, this show is only possible because listeners support us. If you are able to give right now, check out the show notes for a link to donate. And don't forget, you can listen live on KUOW 94.9 FM Seattle at noon and 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, or anytime online at KUOW.org.